Every year, millions of Americans move from one state to another. They might permanently relocate to be closer to family or for a new job. Some may split their time between two or more places as remote workers or retirees. We call northerners who move to a warmer southern location in the winter snowbirds, and I see plenty of them where I live in Florida. However, living and working in more than one state can get complicated because you may need to file taxes in more than one state. I also received a great question about being a snowbird from Rhonda S., who says, I'm 45 and have lived in a snowy winter location my whole life, but I would like to be a snowbird by 55 with a job supporting that lifestyle. I own a home that will be paid off by then, and I have no other debt. I have an emergency fund and contribute 12% of my pay to my retirement account. I don't have kids and I'm not married. What tips do you have for becoming a snowbird? Well, thank you so much for your question, Rhonda. I'm actually the opposite of you because I've lived in hot southern states most of my life, but I plan to be a sunbird and head north during the sweltering Florida summers at some point. So this podcast will review 5 tips for living in multiple states and ways to prepare your finances to do it successfully. Welcome back, everyone. I appreciate you joining me for Money Girl episode 892. I'm Laura Adams, an award-winning author, an on-camera spokesperson, money speaker, and founder of The Money Stack. That's my Substack newsletter. And I'm the host of Money Girl, this podcast with over 43 million downloads. Please take a moment to rate and review the show in your podcast app. And if you have a money question, I would love to hear it. You can leave it on our voicemail by calling 302-364-0308 or email me and sign up for the free Money Stack newsletter when you visit lauradadams.com. All right, let's talk about what you need to know when you're living and working in multiple locations. So as I mentioned, it could be because you're a remote worker or a retiree living or working in more than one state or even outside the country. So here are 5 things you need to know. Number 1 is you might need to file multiple state tax returns. Before you decide to live or work in another state, it's essential to know that in addition to paying federal income taxes, you may also owe additional state taxes on your income, no matter where you earn it. If you earn money in a state different from where you live, you typically need to file tax returns in both states. However, filing multiple state income tax returns doesn't mean you're getting taxed twice. Your home state typically gives you credit for taxes that you must pay to another state. Now, state laws vary considerably in their tax rates and the forms you have to file. Some states charge a flat tax. Others have brackets that charge progressively higher rates as you make more money. For instance, California charges one of the highest potential marginal income tax rates at 13.3% on amounts that residents earn over $1 million. And some states tax corporations, partnerships, certain trusts, and estates. And last week, I reviewed the basics of federal and state estate taxes in podcast 891 called Does My Inheritance Count as Taxable Income? And just like with federal income taxes, if your income is not subject to withholding by an employer, you must estimate your annual state tax liability and pay it in 4 quarterly installments. If you don't do that, your state can charge penalties and interest for, not paying up on time. If you live and work in different states, you must file a tax return in each state that requires it. If you're unsure how to file a state tax return or how to avoid duplicate taxes, please get guidance from a qualified tax professional. Okay, the second thing you need to know is that not all states have an income tax. As of 2025, there are 9 states without an individual income tax. They include Alaska, Florida, Nevada, New Hampshire, South Dakota, Tennessee, Texas, Washington, and Wyoming. So if you work or live outside of those 9 states, you must file a tax return in each state annually where you earn income higher than any state's threshold. In other words, if you live in California and you work for a Florida-based employer, or you actually do work in the state of Florida, you must pay California income taxes even though Florida has no income tax. The third thing to know is that residency rules vary by state. So if you spend part of the year in multiple states, the number of days you're physically there determines whether you're considered a resident, and it varies by state. But most consider you a resident for tax purposes if you live there more than half the year, or more than 183 days. However, no matter where you spend time or even own properties, you can only have one domicile. That's a permanent home. You can only have one domicile at a time. In other words, you can reside in multiple states. You can have, vacation homes and multiple properties in multiple states, but you have to claim one of them as your domicile. So that's critical for various legal issues like paying taxes, claiming government benefits, and voting. Number 4 is you still owe U.S. taxes when living abroad. So if you're a U.S. citizen living abroad, or maybe you want to retire abroad, you do have to file a federal tax return and pay taxes on your global income. So that includes things like wages, interest, dividends, and business earnings, even when you're living temporarily or permanently outside the country. For 2024, you can exclude up to $126,500 of your foreign earnings if you spend at least 330 full days abroad over a 12-month period. Plus, you get a foreign tax credit that allows you to claim a credit for any taxes that you have to pay to a foreign government while you're living in a foreign country. So that helps you reduce your taxes and avoid paying tax twice on the same income. If you live or retire abroad, the tax laws can get complex, so please consult with a tax professional who understands international rules in order to comply and to minimize the tax that you owe. Number 5, you may need to file a part-year tax return. If you permanently relocate to a new state, or let's say you split time between 2 states, but you don't spend 183 or more days there, you may still need to file a part-year tax return. So that means you'd only pay taxes on the income earned while you lived in each state. Some states require you to report all your annual income as if you were a full-time resident, and then prorate the tax based on how much you earned while you were a resident. And other states only require you to report the income that you earned while you were residing in that state. So, Rhonda, you want to be sure to always keep good records on your residency and the date that you earn income so that you avoid having to pay double taxes in multiple states. Now, Rhonda asked for advice on how to become a snowbird, and what she should know so that she can eventually escape the cold northern winters for a warmer climate. She didn't mention where she's thinking about going when she becomes a snowbird, but choosing a no or a low-tax state and making it your domicile can be a good financial move. You want to consider other issues like a state's inheritance taxes, estate taxes, and probate processes. Florida is a popular destination for part-time retirees because of the mild weather and its attractive tax benefits, like favorable estate tax laws, low property taxes, and no state income, as I mentioned. I live in Florida, and I know many, many snowbirds who come here on October 1st or, sometime maybe even just right before Thanksgiving, and they leave in the spring. They might leave by May 30th, and that allows them to avoid the hottest months of June, July, August, and September. As I mentioned, spending more than 183 days in a state typically allows you to become a resident. Plus, you may need to file a formal declaration of domicile. It's a form that you would file with your new state. And they may also want you to do things like update your mailing address, get a driver's license or a state-issued identification card, register your vehicle, and update your auto insurance policy to show that you intend to establish a new domicile. The more proof that you have that you intend to do that, the more of a legal case you have that you are definitely a resident of a new state. Rhonda said she would pay off her home before becoming a snowbird. Now, that's a great goal, but Rhonda, it's not a requirement to live in multiple states. Remember that snowbirds can be homeowners or they can be renters. I know a lot of people who rent the same home or the same condo for 4 or 5 months every year down here in Florida. And others purchase a property that just stays vacant while they're away. Some may even turn their property into an income-producing rental property after they head back up north. Since Rhonda won't be retired for a while, finding work that she can do remotely or even seasonally may be the ticket to splitting her time between 2 states. So Rhonda, if I were you, I would focus on a nationwide or even a global job search to find an employer that will allow you to work remotely from the states where you're interested in living. Another option might be starting your own business. Use your skills and your experiences to earn self-employment income that you could do from anywhere. You could start doing work on the side of your current job and just see if building it up could be an option for your future life as a snowbird. Another consideration for sun and snowbirds is ensuring that you update your emergency documents when you declare a new state as your domicile. For instance, you want to make necessary changes to your will, to your healthcare directives, and to your estate plans. That's just to simplify legal matters for your family and your heirs. Also, I recommend spending as much time as possible in your potential snowbird destinations to see what it's like during the time of year that you want to live there. Also, be aware if there are enough healthcare providers, recreation, and affordable housing that are going to make you happy if you're living there. When you find a potential future place to live, you might meet with a local accountant, estate planning attorney, and real estate agent who understands multi-state residency. The sooner you begin researching a snowbird lifestyle, asking questions like the one Rhonda did here, and seeking some professional advice, the sooner you'll be ready to fly the coop as a sunbird or a snowbird. Rhonda, thanks so much. I love your question, and I wish you all the best in planning out your future path as a snowbird. That's all for now. I'll talk to you soon. Until then, here's to living a richer life. Money Girl is a quick and dirty tips podcast, and we have a terrific team. I want to thank Steve Rickyberg, who audio engineers our show. Brandon Gaches is our director of podcasts. Holly Hutchins is our digital operations specialist. Morgan Christensen is our advertising operations specialist. Davina Tomlin is our marketing and publicity associate. And Nathaniel Hoops is our marketing contractor.